So I covered the Buffaloes and I covered the Eagles. So let's cover something else. So last week, Goldman Sachs increased its 12-month price forecast for gold to $2150. That's $2,150. And an analyst there even said the gold could hit $2,500 if inflation moves structurally to 4%. And that's great if you're trading gold equities. Goldman Sachs is recommending a long trade on gold for the year. But what does it mean if you're not trading? What does it mean if you're only buying physical gold? Well, one of the things that it means is that the retail interest for gold will stay high. Higher prices lead to more people buying, and I know that seems counterintuitive, but that's just how humans work. FOMO and the wisdom of crowds and all that. The jump in metals prices over the last few years has led to new interest, new buyers, and record sales. And I'd like to say that I'm immune to the buying pressure from active price gains, but I bought more in 2020 and 2021 than I bought in, say, 2016 and 2017 when the prices were a lot lower. Now, I still get those comments about 10-year price comparisons. This time, 10 years ago, the price of gold was about $50 less than it is today. So that won't seem like an active price gain. But we all know what happened in 2011. And anyone who's been buying more recently will be a lot more used to the prices from, say, late 2013 through 2018. 5 years ago, not 10. 5 years ago, the price of gold was $1,200. That's $600 less than it is today. So we're looking at a 50% gain in that period of time. And that's a lot more likely to bring in new buyers. So the higher price predictions from Goldman Sachs, to me, is more about continued retail interest than it is about possible gains from trades. Now, I just made a video about buying Eagles, and before that I made a video on Buffaloes, and those are my top choices for gold buying here in the United States. They are the safe choices. And if gold is going to lose steam, if it's going to get boring and lose retail buyers, then I kind of want to make sure that I have a base of the most popular choices. Again, that's Eagles and Buffaloes. This market is not boring though, so I asked around a little bit whether my local dealers would be interested in some of my other coins if I wanted to sell. Now, I don't want to sell them, by the way, but I'll come back to that part. I asked specifically about these Chinese myths and legends coins, and each of the dealers said that they'd give spot or slightly more. I tried to look them up on JM Bullion as well, but couldn't find the specific coin, so I looked instead at the Queen's Beast series coins. Now, in the buyback price, they were giving just over spot, probably enough to cover shipping and still get 100% of the current spot price back on those coins. I imagine these would do a little bit better than the Queen's Beast coins, but I wasn't sure. So if you're picking these up for 5 or 6% premiums at the time of release, well, gold doesn't have to go too far before you're even. And that's if you're trying to liquidate them with a dealer, which would be the worst case scenario. Now, the upside, though, of course, is that you can potentially sell each of these for a profit if you find the right buyer. I've actually had several offers on my Chinese myths and legends coins. I had one person offer $9,000 for 3 of them, and then shortly after that I had a second offer that was just slightly higher than that. That was just a few weeks later, totally unsolicited. Now, these would not cost you any more than normal if you pick them up at the time of release. But the right coin or the right series can really appreciate if it's a limited release like these are. And not all series coins are going to do as well as others, but the idea of picking them up at the time of release is the same for all. That's the time to pick them up at the lowest premium. At least that's the case if it's not from the US Mint. The Perth Mint Series 3 lunar coins are another example. I think the jury is probably still out on how well these coins will do for collector value, but I know they've become very expensive if you're trying to pick up coins a year or two after their release. Even these Tigers, which at the current year have gone up dramatically since their initial release, the dealer I bought the 1 ounce Year of the Tiger coin from is now selling it for over $2,400, and that's a $500 increase in just a few months. So we don't know yet if this is a great example of a coin that's going to make that fat profit, but it's at least a good example of how quickly dealer prices can jump. And that brings me to regrets. I had a question about what regrets I have in stacking, and the one that stood out to me is just not paying more attention to some of the nicer limited release coins. Now, some of that's just straight logistics. Being able to buy 1 ounce gold coins as they're released is a luxury that I don't always have. But had I been thinking, and maybe had I been a little bit less worried about the lighter retail interest in gold, I could have jumped on the Myths and Legends coins, if nothing else, along the way. I knew they were going to have a wider appeal, and I could have picked up a second set. And that would already mean that I'd have a 70% profit. It possibly could have done even better once the series is complete, which is just around the corner, I think. The new 1 ounce gold dragon is available in the next month or two. So you could say that I missed it. I don't make my money flipping precious metals, so it's not a huge regret. But with the increased retail interest, I'm going to be paying more attention to some of the series coins at their initial release. Now, I'm already kicking myself a little bit for not grabbing the first two lunars. There really aren't a lot of other series that I wish I'd grabbed, though. The Queen's Beasts are probably a good example. That's a great series, but it hit a little bit too often for me. They released 11 coins in 5 years, and if I lived in the UK, that would have been great, but since I don't, that's maybe a few too many. Now, I did happen to ask one of the dealers if they'd be interested in the Queen's Beast coins, and they said sure. But that same dealer said I was pressing my luck when I asked about the Maid Marian coin from the Royal Mint. And then when I mentioned the Queen's Virtues coins, they asked why I would ever buy them. So I think it's probably good to know that some series just have a wider appeal than others. Now, I've been talking about the 1 ounce versions, but some of these series are available in fractional options as well, and that's going to widen the market. And to a certain extent, I'd say that it's a little bit more fun when it doesn't feel quite so expensive, particularly if you're long on your gold purchases and you don't plan to flip them. So back to that Goldman Sachs forecast, the basis for the stepped up prediction is inflation and the idea that inflation isn't going away anytime soon. So based on that, it doesn't look like we're going to see significant and sustained price drops anytime soon. So that is a big reason that I'm more interested in some of these other coins. I just see more of a market for them. So my problem, of course, is that I'm just not interested in selling any of these. I heard somewhere that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. My regret there is that I just didn't put that together soon enough. Okay, so let's call it good there. Let us know what you think of picking up series coins or collectible coins in general. Is that a good idea, or are you sticking with the same thing? Let us know what you think. And while you're there, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting, and make sure you're subscribed if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thank you again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.